getting too old for this. It's 6 o'clock in the morning and today we're off to Stratford upon Avon, where we'll be selling 3 tables worth of my flea market stock.
So why do I sell at car boots and flea markets? Well, there's a couple of reasons which I'll go on to explain. First though, it's important to understand that pretty well all the buyers at a car boot or flea market are there for the bargains. That fact underpins every decision you make when choosing the type of stock you take to market. But more about that later. Make no mistake, the customers are not there to hand you a profit or prop up your business model as an antique dealer or reseller. So why are they there? At one end of the spectrum, as private buyers, they're spending their hard-earned money to decorate or furnish their homes with used items. So always remember, they are going to drive a hard bargain when they make any purchase from a second-hand market, which at the end of the day is what a car boot or a flea market is. It's basically a field full of used items. At the other end of the spectrum, you have the professional dealers, props buyers, interior designers and resellers, all there early and sniping for cheap stock to sell on, or in the hope of finding those rare items that spill out of house clearances or from deceased estates. And by the way, don't get sucked into thinking we sell anything other than second-hand or used items when you're heading to market. Yes, our stock may be collectible, in fashion, on vogue, or currently trendy. But at the end of the day, the reality is we are all selling used or second-hand goods. It just sounds better to call it vintage, antique or retro, and of course it enables us to apply a premium to the price we are asking, but that doesn't mean we're going to get what we want. At the end of the day, every antique and vintage item on sale at any market in the world is only worth what someone is prepared to pay for it. And sometimes that person doesn't walk through the door, which is why you end up taking it back home with you. As they say, there's a buyer for everything. But that buyer could be at the end of the rainbow and months or even years away from stumbling across your one-off item they have been searching for all their life. It's as brutal as that in the reselling game, but for many of us, that's what makes our business so challenging and exciting. It's all about reducing that distance or gap between your products and your buyers. And how you achieve that is what differentiates between a successful dealer and those who fall by the wayside. Always remember, as antiques dealers, we don't sell essentials or necessities, but what we do sell is rarity, scarcity, quality and uniqueness. And that traditionally is always in demand, up to a price point of course. Which brings me back to why I sell at car boots and flea markets. And please understand, this is only my approach based on quite a few years of experience, many mistakes and the occasional success. So, given the majority of buyers at car boots and flea markets are there for the bargains, I don't generally take my expensive fine antiques to sell there. That is, unless I've completely lost the plot and for some bizarre reason decided to give them all away. So what do I take? The answer is simple, straightforward and makes sense to me, if no one else. I only take the stock that owes me next to nothing, and by that I mean stock that costs me no more than a maximum of £5 and ideally just a few pennies. By doing this, I absolutely know the resale value of every item I'm selling and can make accurate and most importantly, fast decisions when giving a potential buyer a price, or alternatively, knowing my bottom line if the customer is haggling over £1 or two. This approach takes all the uncertainty out of selling at car boots and markets. And for new or inexperienced dealers, it can take a lot of pressure and uncertainty away from the situation and process. I actually find it makes the whole experience more enjoyable and less traumatic. Having this knowledge gives me control or power over any negotiation. And by this, I mean I have already set the rules of engagement when dancing the dance with any customer hoping to haggle me down to the lowest price possible. In other words, I know when to cut my losses and say no, or alternatively, when to accept their offer. It really is a form of choreography when you are negotiating backwards and forwards with a customer, even if it is only over £1 or £2. And remember, at the end of the day, you don't know how important that pound is to that customer. It could be that it is the last pound in their pocket. So I always try to be respectful in any negotiation, even if we are haggling over just a few pennies. Either way, by knowing the price I originally paid for my stock, I can choose if I want to make the sale or not. And most importantly, the decision-making process for deciding whether to sell or not is clear in my own mind. In other words, when I do make a sale, I know if I am returning a loss, breaking even, or making that elusive profit on every item I sell at the car boot or flea market. Of course, as a rule, you don't want to lose money on any sale, but on occasions, for example, if you have been carrying a particular piece of stock around for months, if not years, without anyone showing any interest, I think it is totally acceptable to sell it on at a loss if it finally shifts it and puts money in your back pocket that can then be used to buy new stock, ideally without making the same mistake again when outsourcing. When I am selling at a car boot or a flea market, I always keep a running tally of what I have sold and for how much. In this way, not only am I keeping financial records for my accountant, but I am also able to keep track of when I am in overall net profit, taking into account overheads such as the cost of fuel, the table or pitch fee, and of course the purchase price of the stock I have sold. So there you go. That's my personal approach to selling at car boots and flea markets. Do your research and take the right stock for the type of customers looking for bargains. Know your bottom line and prices, and don't expect to make big profits on expensive items, because in my experience it rarely happens at a car boot or a flea market. That way you will have an enjoyable and productive day whilst hopefully moving on stock in bulk for a small profit. And if it doesn't happen every time, don't lose heart and give up. It's all part of the game and the challenge. And most important of all, always remember, it always depends on who walks through that door on the day and what they are looking for. Finally, no one has a right to make sales. Just put yourself in the best position you can to make them happen by following my own personal guidelines. And trust me, it really does help to keep smiling. I hope my approach has given you food for thought, especially if you're new to the business. And of course, if you're an experienced seller and disagree with my approach, or you have additional helpful tips to share with the community, let me know in the comments below. Please keep your comments constructive and know we are a positive, family-friendly channel. Thank you.
Right, it's 12 and we're all packed up and ready to head back to Birmingham. As you can see from the field behind me, I'm always one of the last to leave. Don't know why or how that happens, but without fail, put money on it. Anyway, I had a reasonable day. I've sold £125 worth of stock. And most of that was sold in the first couple of hours, I would say. And then it went, so between about 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock. And then after that, an hour and a half. Yeah, nothing really. The odd sale. Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. And a little shout out to Moneypenny, who's a fellow antique dealer. And she was in the pitch opposite me. So that was great to have someone to have a chat to. I was slightly frustrated as well at the end of the market. When I was packing away, I realised I'd probably left about a dozen items all wrapped up in the tubs, so didn't have a chance to sell those. But it's a bit of fresh stock for the next time I'm out, and it's always important to turn up at these markets with a little bit of fresh stock. So even though it isn't fresh stock, how many times can I say fresh stock in one sentence? Anyway, it'll appear to the regular buyers that I have brought something new. So a bit of a cheat, but there you go. So one silver lining for that. I'm trying to resist going over to the burger van, which I think is over there. I'd probably go home and make myself something to eat a bit more healthy. But I am tempted, I've got to be honest. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, comment, share and subscribe if you're still watching. That really helps the channel, and I'd greatly appreciate that. So it's me signing off. So as ever, bye for now, and I'll see you next time.